Hey, everybody. It's A.B. Stoddard at the Bulwark, and I'm back with my buddy, Bill Kristol, co-author of Morning Shots and editor-at-large at the Bulwark, and, of course, a founding member of the Call Her Daddy podcast, which has become a great internet joke. One of our staff made in writing on the site a couple of days ago, which has actually gone viral, and people are actually believing it, even though it's not true. But I do think it's flattering, Bill, and you are the hippest, coolest person on the Bulwark team.
Thanks.
So it would fit. That's why people are.
That's kind of the way I think of it myself. And of course, it's good that it's good. And I think it's important that we pretend it's not true, but maybe it is true. Who knows, right?
That's right. Many people are saying maybe it is true. She would be lucky to have you, is all I can say. Alex Cooper, the host. So we are 1 day shy of 4 weeks to go, and I am just shaking in my boots. So interesting to watch. There's a lot going on. Interesting to watch that in the final days, there is reporting that Democrats are nervous about the issue of the economy, even though polls are showing remarkably that Harris has closed on the issue of inflation, which she's addressed aggressively. She talks about how things are, cost too much. But the issue of the economy in general, which usually favors Republicans, is of course favoring Trump. So Democrats seem to think that she needs to keep working at that Hillary focused too much in 2016 on Trump's character. It didn't work. People felt that he was going to help them with their economic woes. And he was, of course, the outsider and all that other stuff, blow up the system. And then in 20, people had seen Trump's presidency, I guess, as we continue to discover, spared him the year of 2020 and the year of COVID, but thought that otherwise he had a good record on the economy. And so that Democrats feel that to close the gap, she's going to have to really supercharge her efforts on this issue. Meanwhile, Trump is going to do rallies in Coachella in California, in Madison Square Garden in New York, which are not swing states. And he's part of an effort to run ads on the fear of transgender operations he likes to talk about at his rallies that happen, not even with the help of the school nurse. I mean, just teachers take your kids during the day at public school and change their gender with operations that they're subjected to, and they come home at the end of the day a different gender. Apparently, this is not just an effort by the Trump campaign in $65 million worth of ads to really scare suburban women about how radical Democrats are on this issue. But it's a campaign plan for down ballot too. They're running these ads in some Senate races and House races, et cetera, which I think is really interesting. You made a good point today. Like, is that smart politics or is it a sign of desperation? What do you think? It's both?
Yeah, I don't know. So, I mean, those are three big issues you've raised. Let me give you quick answers on each, and then you can tell me what's the true answer on each. Just one thing, you mentioned the swing state. A lot of people are kind of ridiculing Trump. You weren't, but others have, doing rallies in California and then Madison Square Garden, apparently. I don't quite agree with this kind of, I think, sort of superficial, every moment you don't spend literally in a swing state voters don't know what you're doing. I mean, you can go to a swing state all you want, and you might not get such great coverage beyond the local media market, and you might not get positive coverage. So it's not like just setting foot in the place. People in Pennsylvania, Trump's here again for the 8th time. If he'd only come 7 times, I wouldn't have voted for him. But if he's come the 8th time, I'm going to vote for him. People have a slightly simplistic view of how the kind of stuff works. Obviously, you want to be in the places that the voters who matter the most are. And obviously, Hillary made a mistake not going to Michigan and Wisconsin in 2016 and so forth. And there's a lot of evidence. This is even the case when I was involved, that you get a little bump in local media coverage if you go to an area. But it's little, half a point or a point, dissipates usually 2 or 3 days later. People kind of forget you were there, So, and you can send a message by going to having the right kind of audience in California. I assume maybe there he's focusing on Latino voters, and if you're a Latino in Arizona, maybe you're happy that Trump is focusing on your fellow Latinos, even if it's not allegedly a competitive state. Madison Square Garden, a little more complicated there. I think it's more of almost appealing to kind of the tradition in America of big political rallies at Madison Square Garden. He's not scared to go in the Lion's Den. He's probably hoping that a lot of demonstrators will come out, and they'll be some of them might be violent, some of them will be pro-Hamas. and there'll be riots, and he'll be the guy who stands up against it. I mean, I just think there has been this kind of little, village, what am I trying to say, business sort of, can you believe Trump's not focusing on, is going to the other states? But I think it's just a simplistic view of how voters work, and underestimates again how much they get their news from national coverage, including on social media. So it's not as if, again, if the guy's not within 100 miles. It's not like the old days. If the guy's not within 20-mile radius, you're not going to hear about it.
The whistle stop tour.
Yeah, so I sort of defend. I mean, I don't know whether these are good ideas or not. I don't know what his message is going to be in these places. I don't know what's going to happen, obviously. But I don't intrinsically think it's necessarily a mistake to not spend every waking moment in swing states, just as I don't think it's a mistake for Kamala Harris to be doing national interviews as opposed to doing rallies, before 4,000 people somewhere in Wisconsin. So people in Wisconsin watch The View, right? It's not like you're not talking to people in Wisconsin when you go do a national show that has millions of viewers, or a national podcast that has many, many listeners and viewers. So that's on the swing state issue. We can come back if you want. I know you want to talk about Kamala Harris's media strategy, and you've got real thoughts on that, which I don't, except what I just said, which seems like you might get to a lot of voters that way. On the economy, I think she's focused on her own positive message and what she could do for the middle class and housing and elder care and child care, which is fine. I think she needs more of a negative message on Trump, and especially on tariffs. And I have a conversation with Jason Furman that'll go up tonight or tomorrow, the Harvard economist who was Obama's head of the Council of Economic Advisors, but very moderate Democrat. And I just think the tariffs is a pretty easy argument to make. It's real. It is literally something Trump is committed to doing, and that he can do without much congressional or any really congressional approval. I mean, having talked about it so much, it's hard to believe he won't do it. And we do know what happens with tariffs. I mean, this is not like entirely speculative. I mean, there literally will be price hikes on a huge on imported goods. There could be retaliation. The price hikes will be inflationary. The Fed will then have to think about raising interest rates. I mean, you can't go into all of that maybe in a 30-second ad, but I think getting people thinking that Trump is a riskier choice than they currently think he is for the economy is very important for some swing voters. Right now, they think business guy, pretty good economic, results in the 4 years he was president. No risk on the economy on Trump. And in fact, they may think there are risks on democracy or Ukraine, but he's gotten kind of a free ride on the economy. So I would really hammer on tariffs. And finally, on the transgender stuff, they're running a massive amount of these ads, not just Trump, but as you suggested, the Senate campaigns and McConnell's super PAC. They're not idiots. They've got tens of millions of dollars. They've obviously tested these ads. They test well. That's what the New York Times front page story says. Also, they could claim they test well, they don't, but they wouldn't be spending the money if they didn't test well. So it's an interesting kind of almost political science question. Could an ad test well? Could it tap into concerns about, women's sports and so forth with some swing voters, or maybe some not very plugged in voters who think, oh my God, I didn't realize the Democrats are for that. I'm against that. I'm going to vote on it on the one hand. Or could it be also, I kind of agree with them on this. It's gone too far, some of the sports stuff and maybe the stuff in schools. But I don't know. There's also the economy and Ukraine and Supreme Court and abortion rights and the whole nature of Trump's party. I may agree with him on this one little thing, but I'm not going to vote for him. You know what I mean? I think this, again, a kind of simplistic way in which people think, and I've been in these things. You test an ad. Hey, they love this ad. But it doesn't really prove that it's going to change your vote. Just proves you like this ad, right? So I think that's, I guess, but I think it's a question. And I don't know the answer. I'm not sure anyone knows the answer. Are we looking at kind of a kind of attempt to tap into a culture war thing where they probably have some majority support for some of what they're doing, though they're also extremely mean-spirited about it, and they might lose some of that support. But is it sort of just, is it really going to, people going to really vote for president of the United States, not for a school board election, not for a local election where they do control the public schools and maybe they affect what's done there, or if they control the prisons and they can pay or not pay for whatever gender change operations. Are we really going to vote for president of the United States based on this issue? I'm a little skeptical of that. On the other hand, I don't know. I'm not in touch with all the voters in this country right now, So give me your take on all these things. I'm really curious.
Well, we've talked about tariffs before. I think it's a gift for her. She's got to find better language on it. She was calling it the Trump sales tax, which confuses people. And she's got to drive that home. It's a gimme. It is destabilizing, inflationary, and the Republicans, like we've discussed before, are adamantly opposed. They're just trying to stay quiet about it until after the election. And they're going to try to find a way to get Congress to have some authority over it so that he can't just unilaterally do it from the executive branch. Anyway, that would help. I don't know how much more ground she has to break through on the economy, though I find it very impressive that people were listening enough that she was able to move the numbers on inflation and come to a draw with Trump in a very rough time where people are experiencing these price hikes for the first time in their life, most of them, and they really have to kind of factor them into their life. They think they're permanent. So it is the number one issue. So the fact that she's moved some ground on that is really, to me, I'm still stunned. As for swing states, I would be upset if I found Harris out of a swing state right now. That's all I have to say. I know people can see rallies in other ways, but I don't want her going anywhere but 7 states. So I think that the transgender stuff is one of those things where it is compelling if you are afraid that the left are the Democrats are radicalized on the left and that they are, that Harris secretly planning to do all this stuff if she wins and she's in the White House, whatever. But it is also true that there's so much going on and there's so much chaos and so much hurting in this country right now and things to be afraid of. The idea that would take a holdout voter and make up their mind is ludicrous. It just is. You're either for Harris or Trump at this point. If you're a holdout, you are the most pessimistic about inflation. You don't like Trump and you are holding out and you are either going to vote for Harris or you're going to stay home. That's who I believe the remaining holdouts are. And I don't know that they're going to be moved by transgender ads. I think they are doubtful that she can change the trajectory of the economy in ways that will help their life, but they are not yet a Trump voter. They're not going to become one in the next 3 weeks. That's my view on the holdouts. And she needs to get them off the couch, which is why I think her media strategy has been good, because I think, as I said to Mona the other day, there's much more upside than downside. Every time she has a word salad and gives a bad, confused, jumbly answer, someone somewhere is thinking, she seems so real in that interview. It's a vibe check, right? And there's so much, people are looking to see if they can trust her. They don't know enough about her. And they want a gut check on whether or not they can trust her. And all of this exposure that she's finally giving them, that she didn't give them in September, I think is really helpful for that. And people are drawn. I mean, I listened to Will Salatan and JVL discuss her Howard Stern interview. I have not yet heard the Howard Stern interview, but it was a conversation, not an interview. So it was beyond softball, but it was a way that she could just share who she is. And the Alex Cooper Call Her Daddy podcast was so shrewd because it gets at a bunch of young women in this country, millions of them who are not paying attention to politics. And if they can feel through that conversation that she's a real calm, grounded person who really cares about the things that they do and spoke to them in a way that they had not yet heard from other politicians, that might get them in the car. So I think that is going to fill the space that she had left, empty. And again, no holdout voter at this point who is not in Trump's camp after all these years and is a holdout voter is going to listen to Kamala Harris on a podcast and say she's a little nervous and inarticulate sometimes. So I don't know. I have to vote for Trump. So I think she has so much to gain and so little to lose from this media blitz, and I hope she keeps it up.
I think that's really well said and intelligent, and she seems to be thinking the same way you are. So hopefully you're both right. I mean, I guess the one thing I would say on these holdout voters, let's assume you're right and there's not a lot of Trump upside in them, but they could stay home or they could be okay with Harris. I mean, their strategy is very much in reassuring them that they should be okay with Harris, which is fine and supported.
Yeah.
Then this ties into the economy. I think she has to get them a little more nervous about Trump. I mean, she has to get them worried
Agreed.
about what a Trump presidency is going to be. Because otherwise, if they can like Harris a little better, but they can still stay home, right? And someone told them their boyfriend told them that his job was better under Trump. I mean, so they're kind of just ambivalent. I think this is where the tariffs comes back in, and you just $1,700 is how much the average or median something American family would pay based on their current purchasing patterns. If the tariffs that Trump has explicitly called for, this isn't some fancy, kind of semi-fake imputing consequences to Trump policies. He's literally calling for 10% tariffs. We know how much people spend on imports. We know that if you add 10%, that's what they're going to spend. That's actually understating it. So you're understating that how much other prices will go and so forth, and the retaliation and all this. And that's just a fact, really. And I just think getting that into people's heads that, you know what, you're going to be poorer if Trump is elected president. Yeah. I mean, he's imposing, I can see why they went with sales tax, because it's sort of a way of capturing that he's going to make you pay something, but I think it confuses people. So, but he's putting a price, he's going to increase prices for you
also she has new data from the Committee for Responsible Federal Budget saying that his plans actually add to the deficit more than 2 times the amount that hers do. I mean, that should be in ads, and that should be in her stump speech, I think. What do you think?
I mean, just that no one cares about the deficit anymore, but I think it's important. Maybe it gets to some Wall Street Journal type readers, but I guess I come back to a Democrat put it to me very well the other day, very savvy, sort of older Democratic operative, said the trouble we have is, that Harris has, that the Democratic Party has now, is people have gotten pretty skeptical that anyone much is going to do a lot to help their lives. And they went through Biden and they kind of didn't mind some of the things he did. And everyone's saying the economy is so good, but they're looking around thinking, he hasn't really done that much to help me. A little hard to convince them that Harris comes in and magically does a lot more to help them. And then but I think it isn't impossible to convince them, I'm going to hopefully keep on helping you a little bit. At least I'm not going to hurt you, and this guy's going to hurt you. So I'm for more of a sharp-edged negative message in these last 3 weeks, including on the economy, about Trump, how risky Trump is. Now, that's not inconsistent with her being perfectly pleasant and optimistic and cheerful in these conversations and interviews. But it means that I think their paid media, it shouldn't go to it shouldn't be at the level of hysteria and of negativity of Trump's transgender message. But I kind of wonder about that they're not really getting the riskiness of Trump through in their paid media. Maybe they are, and I don't see it. I just don't see that much of it. But I'm a little worried about that.
So am I. And she seems so hesitant to go on the attack against Trump. I mean, she just does. And I know she's running a calibrated campaign that has been so effective in reaching the center of the electorate. That's what that's right. That's the number one goal in this short time that they have, to sort of reintroduce her and frame her views, to put it in the center of the Democratic Party, in the center of the electorate. But the one thing she's sort of holding out on is being on more offense about him. I don't know. I find it strange too. And as we've said, now's the time. We're running out of time. Trump, she was talking with Howard Stern. He said, how does it feel to be the one person standing in the way? I mean, it's all on you. It's all on her.
With all this pressure on you right now, and you've got to win, you just have to. I really believe we're in for the darkest skies on the planet. Like the sun's literally going to go out. This is how I feel. Mm-hmm. And God bless you for doing this.
And if the Trump second term is an existential threat to this country, I think she needs to start talking about it a little more. It's frustrating, but they must be there's something to their thinking on that. And I know they're going to have Obama do it and other people will do it, but, they better get to it. I don't know what that's, I don't know what they're holding back on. I know they wanted to be positive about what she could offer, but then you have to scare people about Trump. So it seems like the hour is a little bit late.
Maybe they'll pivot now. I mean, I think, to be fair, they run a good campaign, as you and I have said before. And also, there's a trade-off. If you go too negative, people decide they're not crazy about you either. And building up her positives was important, and getting her favorable, unfavorable, to about even or tiny bit positive compared to Trump's, which has been pretty steady at about -8, -10, -12. I still think if they go into an election day with that gap, and I think this is what the Harris people are probably thinking, she'll win. I mean, people just will vote for the candidate they like better. And it's maybe not within a point or two, but if it's an 8-point gap or something. So maybe they think, that's nice, Bill, you're sitting there talking about this clever negative message on tariffs, but probably but it's still secondary to the main thing, which is helping Harris, having climbed from 44, where she started, probably 45, to 48, 49 now in the national polls. We just need to get her another point or two. And I don't begrudge them. That's a reasonable argument. And if they can do it, they can do it. As I say, I would prefer a little more disqualifying Trump.
So one of the things we have to talk about polls, one of the things that's so interesting is that in their big campaign to create those positives, to raise the favorability, to introduce what she's going to do for the voters and not talk about Trump in September. I mean, what's so fascinating is that actually ended up paying some dividends, because the New York Times Siena poll shows her up 3 nationally, but shows that she's the change candidate now. She's viewed that way, and she's viewed as the candidate who understands the needs of people like me. And that is where you always want to be going into the presidential election. You want to be that way. And I mean, you want to be perceived that way, and you want to be that candidate. And that Trump had the advantage on before. So that is a significant swing. And that's all a result, obviously, of the buildup, that they did on issues that are important to voters, and basically not talking about Trump. When we look at polls, Bill, I mean, it's nice to see a New York Times Siena poll finally that looks positive for her, but again, it's not completely comforting. It's still very tight. I wonder how you're feeling about the polls. My feeling, there's a couple things. For super nerds here, I want you to check out Nate Cohn's piece in the New York Times from the last couple of days, where he talks about why the polls are all over the place, because different pollsters, afraid of the polling errors they made in 16 and 20, where they underweighted Trump voters, are trying different things. Of course, their modalities, their processes have to change because people aren't home anymore, not answering landlines. The kids, can you even get them on the phone? Will they only do text polling? And on and on. So, right, this makes for a system that is unsound. And we're not going to know, I don't think, for several cycles that pollsters have figured out actually how to really get good samples, but they doubt their data. And what they're doing is reincorporating something called recalled vote. And I'll try to make this quick. So pollsters are asking voters, who'd you vote for last time? And they're trying to do this to make sure that they weigh enough Trump support in the current data. And what they find is that recalled vote is not reliable, because most people don't remember how they voted, or they say, oh, I voted for the person who won. And that's not always true. And they often will say that they voted when the records show that they didn't vote. So different pollsters this year are using recalled vote to make sure that they're representing Trump support, and different ones are not, when other ones are not. And so that really basically makes it completely unreliable to me. Like, the whole landscape of polling is just, I don't know who's using recalled vote, whether that's reliable, who's not using recalled vote. So again, we just need to look at the trends in the battleground states, not rely on national polls. Bill, when I look at these Pennsylvania polls, she seems to be up in a lot of them. Why do they make me so nervous? There's a poll coming out today from SP&R, Susquehanna PR, and they give us a little tidbit that this morning they show her up 5 points in a Republican-leaning district that Scott Perry represents, Pennsylvania 10. And it says Trump won this district by 4 points in 20. This would be bad news for Trump and bad news for Scott Perry. So that's so interesting. But when you look at the polling in Pennsylvania, is still supposed to be the tipping point state. And she does better in most of the polls in Pennsylvania. How do you feel about that state? And then the rest of the swing states, but that one in particular, I don't know why I don't believe any of the polling in Pennsylvania.
Yeah, well, I was going to ask, why are you so skeptical about the Pennsylvania in particular?
Pennsylvania is 3/4 white. It is half white non-college voters. Trump performed the best in Pennsylvania with white non-college voters that he did of all 3 Rust Belt states in 2020. I know he lost it, but I just feel like he's spending all his time.
It has more black voters than certainly Wisconsin, and maybe in Michigan, I suspect. So that's what allowed Biden to win it, and also those big college-educated suburbs of Philadelphia, especially, and also Pittsburgh. I don't know. I don't have a real view on it. I mean, I think all these states are very close, and so I'll just punt in that way. That and at some point you can go into all the complexities. I'm quite interested in the whole recall question. The better pollsters do not use them. I mean, they have voter files, and the recall vote thing is a way of just to elaborate for 1 second on your good explanation.
It was not good. It was jumbled.
600 people out on the street, and it came back. Whatever, it came back. You'd be nervous. Are these people at all like representative of anything? How would you know? What's one quick way to know would be you ask them their age, you'd ask them their educational level, you'd ask them their income. You would adjust how much you weigh groups here. You're not going to, if 3/4 of you just spoke to are college educated, but you know that the country is only 40% college educated, you can weight that down. Another way to weight, and what reason they like doing it, it's not crazy, is the recall voting. Because you know what? If we know that this town or city or state voted 49-46, it should look sort of like that. If it looks 65-35, you're getting a weird sample, and you got to, again, weight down. But you're fixing a problem with recall voting. And it's the really good pollsters don't want to have that problem in the first place. And they're going to look at the voter file, and they're going to get as much as they can, a truly representative sample in terms of education, age, voter party ID, registration, which is on the voter file, and not this, what you call voting, which is you're asking people a question that they're not giving very good answers to, because they tend to be called whatever, or whoever they like now, So anyway, but I think the Times doesn't do it, and some of the major network polls don't do it, and so maybe it's safer to stay with them. But but they're all close, so it doesn't really matter. I mean, whichever polls vary, but they're all too close for comfort and stuff. I don't know. I go like everyone else. I suppose I oscillate between glass half full, glass half empty, or panic and cheerfulness. I mean, if you want, I'd say the single biggest thing for me that makes me worried. You asked me, if you told me Donald Trump is going to win, how did that happen? He's won. I'd say, you know what? 2016, he outperformed the polls by a couple of points, especially in the key states, by more than a couple of points in the swing states. In 2020, he outperformed the polls nationally and in the swing states and came very close. He's been on the ballot twice. He's outperformed the polls twice. Let's not overthink this. That is 2 out of 2. Probably more likely to be 3 out of 3 than the opposite. Now, the counter argument is no. They're both different circumstances. It's sort of what you said, actually, is the counter argument. And I think it's a strong counter argument, which is everyone knows Trump. There's no more Trump shy voters. People live in Trump areas. They're happy to say they're for Trump. And therefore, the people who are not decided, who aren't answering, the 5% is it, who aren't part of the 49 or the 46, are more likely to be not very good candidates to go to Trump, and more likely to either stay home or maybe decide, hey, that new person's better, and maybe she can get things going, and I'll go for her, right? So a lot of them are not very well informed, presumably. And then some of them are the suburban, Wall Street Journal editorial page readers or spouses of them, who are wavering because they have problems with each party. So I think that's, and that would suggest, though, that the Trump vote, Trump's going to get the vote he's showing in the polls, that he's not going to outperform the polls. So both of those can't be right. I mean, but both are perfectly reasonable to say he outperformed. He outperformed before, he's going to outperform again. Or your point, he's been on the ballot twice in a row. He's dominated American politics for 9 years. If he's getting 47%, he's going to get 47%. No one out there is going to decide at the last minute, you know what, I really like that guy Trump. I didn't realize this before. I mean, so I don't know which of those two is a better guide, which is so I'm totally uncertain whether one should look at a 48-46 type poll. 49-46 was the Times. But generally in the swing states, Harris +1, Harris +2 would say, you know what? Harris +1, Harris +2 is pretty good. It's probably the 3, 4, 5, 6% who aren't decided won't vote, but if they vote, are a little more likely to vote for Harris as the newcomer. Or Harris +1, Harris +2 is nerve-wracking because Trump wins when he's only down by 1 or 2 based on previous history.
Yep.
I don't know. I mean,
Oh boy.
You seem sort of on the side of there's not a hidden Trump vote this time.
I think there could be a hidden Trump vote. A bunch of young men, non-college Black and Latino men, union members. He's gained converts since 2020. There's no question. And I don't trust any of the polling. I'm just saying that I think those minds are made up.
Do you think that he's gained? I mean, do you have the vague sense that there are more people around who converted to Trump after 2020 than the other way, post January 6th, Liz Cheney type? Or do you think it probably just balances out and that's why it's such a close race?
I'm completely of the mind that she could win in a blowout by 5 points because of abortion and everything in between back to Trump winning. There's a spectrum where Trump wins a close race or she ekes it out or she wins a big win because there are just new voters, pro-life women who thought they were pro-life until they discovered they were pro-Roe. I mean, there could be such a backlash. This first presidential election.
No, that's a very important point.
We really don't know what's coming.
Dobbs
we don't know what's
had
coming.
A big effect in 22 and had a big effect in its referenda. And then everyone's decided it's just one of many issues, but maybe it isn't just one of many issues. And maybe there are secret Harris voters, partly or fully influenced by abortion and Dobbs, who are living with Trump voters as their husbands or relatives or neighbors and don't want to bother getting in a fight about it all and are just keeping quiet or saying, yeah, I'll vote for Trump too, of course, the economy. And they're going to show up and walk into the voting booth and vote for Harris. I don't think that's impossible. That could be 0.5%, right?
No, there is definitely a secret Harris vote. We just have to make sure that it's bigger than the remaining secret Trump vote. All right, Bill, thank you so much. Boy, if you want to rub your nerves raw, come back here next Wednesday and join me and Bill again. Make sure that you stay on the Bulwark's YouTube channel. We have stuff coming in all day long. A lot of people are taking care of their nerves better than I am, but you can find a lot of good stuff here, and we will see you next time. Thank you.